All right, good afternoon, cyber traders. Welcome on back here this Tuesday afternoon, June 6th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Great to have all of us back on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, the works. Great to have all of us back, of course, inside our live trading room here, the Cyber Group room. John, Jeff, and all of us just here joining us right now. I'll tell you what, it's been a really good day altogether from the morning up until this very second. So great to have Leda and Lauren still with us right now, loud and clear from them. We have the AI trade on the screen here to begin, making a nice bounce right now from 37. The real level that we were following on this trade was actually dated back to last Tuesday it was, right? Just back from the 30th, the beginning of last week, that 37.61 weekly open price. So coming off our weekly workshop earlier today, Traders Talk, well, we had our focus on that price. And it was breaking above it, pulling back under it, and just use it as a level, right? Ended up just showing multiple breaks above it earlier. So with already the amount of buying interest that we have off of it, I was looking for the bounce here at the point. It broke under it, didn't break back above it, so there's no entry. It kept dropping. Okay. Well, when a stock breaks under support like that, support should initially, like the literal first test, look for it to become resistance. So the first touch there, once again, and just the more times it nips it, you look for that pop, that big move shortly after. So this could be easy to say coming into this meeting, but just read the chat. The whole time here, we were focused on 37.61 and the break over it. So hopefully now this makes a much better play for us going into the close. It's already been a great play from the morning session, but with the amount of buying interest we have off of that price, and now let alone off 38, it's been sluggish off 38. And, we need this to break over 38.50 really for this to make the better run. So, from myself on this one, above 37.61, it's not as if every dollar is going to be equally as strong. So 38, there was a couple of icebergs there throughout like the early afternoon, but look at what's ahead of 38.50. It was there since the late morning going into the early afternoon. So for about 39,000 shares, the first test of it right here, it held and dropped. So now at this point, just if this wants to make the cleaner push up much higher, up to perhaps even 40, it needs to make that cleaner breakout above that 38.50 first. So definitely going to put AI back on our list. How could we not? Just the way it looks, it's up over 5% and at the high. So it's just more of a level 3 to 4 stock. Maybe the faster it goes, you could perhaps go to 5 category, but it's just more or less to say this is a very volatile stock. And we covered this in the Traders Talk workshop earlier this morning too, especially even in terms of trading options. We even, twisted around talking about how you could, just use bookmap level 4 in order to buy puts or calls on a trade. In this case, really off of 37 just earlier. And then now just ended up breaking above that, 37.61. So I don't have the call price on AI at the time there, but we were talking about it from the morning session. At this stage now, we're just looking for the higher high, hopefully sooner than later here. So alongside AI, we have Palantir. Palantir not up nearly as much, not moving nearly as well. Even if it were to become a lot faster of a trade, I'd still say it's not as crazy as the AI trade. So I would really want this to have a nice kick up pretty soon. We were looking for that to be the case off of 1535, that big green line, and that was going into noontime here. So it's been really holding underneath that 1550 level, pretty synonymous with AI holding underneath that 3850-ish. So I'm not as inclined to put PLTR on there just yet. Good sideless stock, good tradable stock otherwise. And if you did well on it from the morning, then certainly I'm sure you're more inclined to follow it for the close. But I think there's a lot to work with. There's really a lot that we can kind of sink our teeth into going into this afternoon. So, AI, good start. And for all of us inside the live trading room, you know where I'm going to next. GitLab. Nailed this trade. We'll talk about this at least, or we talked about this in our Traders Talk workshop earlier. We'll post a couple of videos of that just on our YouTube channel. Just be on the lookout for that just later on this afternoon going into tomorrow. Post a couple a day probably there. But we talked about GitLab and the earnings that they had from yesterday afternoon, the big bounce off of 42.45 that was, and led to a huge squeeze. So still in on this trade actually right from that price. Ended up taking half my position out earlier. It was right off 46. I took half the trade out. And since, hey, it's been holding pretty nicely, and perhaps you could say up until this very point, because now it's beginning to make a pullback here and retest this historical level, 46.40-ish, that area historical from the daily or weekly chart. And for my trade sake, I'd rather this hold here and pop up higher, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So I told a couple of us earlier in the chat board, this stock seems to become a little bit more exhausted right now at this point. So might just be a good time to take the money and run in full. I'm going to keep an eye on this as we go through, and then I'll yank the trade if it gets any lower from here. But GitLab, GitHub, GitLab, we'll put that on our list here for right now, the main list. All right, so let's go from top to bottom. We had the Hoth trade from pre-market, and we had a couple of others earlier as well. Big lots up big. I know Michael brought that up earlier. So let's see what we got. I mean, this is a gap fill now at this point. We talked about this as well, just being a pop and drop stock even back from last year. History has a tendency to repeat itself. So you don't want to get caught sleeping there. And well, with this, looks like we've been sleeping on this trade so far. BMR, wow, up big right now, breaking above 3, already up 50 cents off that level. Again, pop and drop type of play dating back to last month, end of last month, maybe like a couple weeks ago even, ended up making a big move seemingly overnight into the morning and popped up and then pulled back and tanked. So be careful on this trade, but for right now, it makes the list. Good call for right now on this BMR. Nice squeeze. GitLab for right now, again, just kind of holding that support. The more times it nips it, I really do believe it's going to just smash under it. I was looking for 46 to hold at minimum earlier, and it did. So really got to see higher lows continue or equal lows at that. But let's see what else we got. QBTS, nice squeeze on this, even dating back to last month, just from like 60 or 50 cents all the way up. There was a trade earlier, Microvision, Mavis. Right? I mean, just taking a look at this on the daily chart, easy to say. Things had a hell of a squeeze up lately. Wow. And I don't think we've really focused on these trades day over day like this. So, nice to see happen. Can't, go back on everything and say, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. Oh, that was a great thing. If we live our lives like that, then we're never going to actually learn why we're doing what we're doing. So, with that there, I mean, the QBTS trade, I mean, making lower highs, made a nice move earlier. So for right now, write it down for the side list at least. And then the Mavis trade for right now showing a higher low, trending back up pretty well here. So you want to see this make a move closer back up to the high sooner than later. But for right now, this makes the cut. I like this trade, Mavis. This one we've at least been pretty familiar with. We have some good experience with, not even back from there. But from the last year and a half, I mean, really dating back to COVID probably, not as if it was a COVID stock, but with just the market exploding back then, this was a short squeeze. So we're pretty familiar with this Mavis stock just from the last year and a half, 2 years. We call it Mavis, Microvision. You get it from Fausto. He nicknames a lot of stocks that we call out in the room, right? So I get it from him, MVIS. It's actually Microvision, not Mavis. Big. All right. We can't really nickname this otherwise here, right? It's just big. Big lots ended up making a big push early this morning. And for now, making a pretty decent squeeze back up again towards the VWAP price right now. For a stock that's near the highs, I'd rather focus on. So it's not exactly there. It has a ways to go. I feel like the stock more than anything is exhausted, kind of similar to GitLab, except there's a difference between GitLab and that, and this is much closer to the highs right now. So if you did well on big lots earlier, then definitely put it on your list for tomorrow. I'm going to write it down for my side list automatically for tomorrow. We'll check in on that trade early in pre-market, see if it's still worth watching. Keep it going. Got you, GOTU here. A couple of big prints filled at the ask, it looks like, just before. It's kind of at the highs right now, but it looks a little sluggish to me. I'll pass. FRZA, this thing has just been in play back-to-back days now. It's been very choppy today, mind you, but from the morning session, caught a good bounce on this early at first, and then even just before tried to eat back up, but then failed to flip 350 into support. In fact, I think it just kind of hit it and came back down, right? First test of it again here, false break. Didn't even stand a chance, unfortunately. All right, we keep it going. We keep it moving. See what else we got here, though, folks. HSAI. I haven't seen this ticker before. I just want to look. It's not tradable, but it just has AI at the end there. So I didn't know if it was another AI company there. All right, we'll hop over to the loser side, seeing if there's anything looking just as good, if not better here. So far, we got a good list. I mean, I'd say, though, a few just more volatile stocks. That MVIS is probably the most tradable out of all that we have there so far. We'll come back to a couple at the end there, like Big Lots and QBTS, Palantir even. Oof. NVCR taking a huge hit. So for right now, I mean, hey, for a stock at the highs you want to follow, especially if it's up big or coming off good news, for a stock that's coming off bad news or down big, you want it at the lows of the day, which is exactly what we have here. So it'd be hard to pass up on this trade, NVCR. It's just definitely more of a level 4 plus stock. Really thin liquidity out there on the order book. Looks like it broke under some historical support though recently today, right off of 54, roughly around 54. Once it broke under it here, there was no looking back. That's an interesting move. If anyone got a piece of that going into the late morning, early afternoon, kudos to you. I just wasn't as focused on that, or on the loser side, at least at that point. But again, even goes to show that there's opportunities on both sides of the coin here, folks. Pun intended, obviously. We got Coinbase dropped off. I'm on my game this afternoon meeting. So with that, Coinbase surprisingly ended up making a really strong squeeze back up. I mean, not to the point where it made the bounce to start. The bounce up is not surprising, but it's the continued push and grind over that $50 price level. So I wasn't too interested in looking for the short afterwards. I ended up getting stopped out on a couple of short trades, or puts at least. I ended up getting stopped out on some puts that I bought, and then from there ended up grinding up higher. So yeah, Coinbase now looks pretty flat. I just feel like for a couple other crypto stocks, you might see them up big. Mara up big today, Riot up big. Actually, Mara's up a lot percentage-wise right now, up over 8 to 9% right now, live, testing $10. What the hell? Did I slip up here? I guess it's just not up as much here compared to what we have on the gainers list right now. But really good call, folks. This is where I need your help. If there's anything else looking good, up, down, left, right, type it in the chat board. Let me know right now. AI making a grind to push up higher right now, so that's looking pretty good still. PLTR going back to the side list that we already have, just a little slow for my liking. So I'm going to pass on it for today, putting it on the main special list. QBTS, same deal. Big lots, nice push going into the early afternoon, but same there. I feel like that's more exhausted now. All right, so what do we have here inside our live trading room? For all of us on social, feel more than free to chime in as well here. Tony C inside our live trading room asking about the IBRX. Beautiful. Yeah, really good call, Tony. Very nice call. Nothing else really needed to be said there. So perfect liquidity, cheap, nice move up the highs, up big. I guess that is what's left to say there, but didn't even need to say that if you're a student, right? That's a great call from Mike saying Stitch Fix earnings this afternoon, like after the market closes. So that's a good one to follow for the side list tomorrow morning. If you trade the earnings specifically, then it's good to keep in mind for the close today. But much like GitLab, GitLab exploded off good earnings. It was such a good play today. So I'd rather see the smoke and dust shake out first, and then, we'll kind of see if there's any good opportunity on Stitch Fix for tomorrow morning. If they explode off earnings up 25%, I'm not like as concerned about missing the earnings pop as I am missing like the support test tomorrow morning. Like just like GitLab, it's literally the same exact type of play, just Stitch Fix much cheaper, mind you. But just for as much as GitLab exploded yesterday afternoon, it's like, all right, well, there's plenty of ball left to play there from this morning. So hopefully that is the case to be said for Stitch Fix, SFIX. I do like that trade, Mike, coming off earnings or like any news. It's been a fun stock. All right, folks. So I think that we're going to call it for right now. For all of us in social, hey, just be on the lookout on our YouTube channel. Be a friend, tell a friend. Just go subscribe right to our YouTube channel so you can be up to date with any of our videos that we'll be posting across this week. We have a couple of clips from our Traders Talk workshop that we just conducted this morning. If you wanted the full edition, you got to be a member. You got to be a student inside our live trading room at least. So go right down to the link on the green banner below, just on the bottom there of the stream, to get yourself set up and started inside our live trading room. Next audio broadcast coming up in about 15 or so minutes with my colleague Rich going into the market close. I'll be on a coaching call up until 3:30, folks. So, just, hey, if there's anything that looks good for myself and my student George, we'll look to call it out. But otherwise, from Michael, Kathleen, Tony, John, Leda, and then all of us otherwise, of course, Grant included, and Lawrence. Hey, best of luck trading going into the market close, folks. Talk to you soon.